Okay, welcome everyone to the Game Week 3 retro. If this is your first retro, what happens in these things is, you know the format of the quiz league, we do one quiz per week and then we move on to the next week. But if you think about it, we're doing 60 questions in 1 hour. That's a lot of ground being covered. We're coming across a lot of interesting things and then we're wasting it. We're just throwing it away and moving on to next week as if it was not a big deal, but it is a big deal. So we will use this 1 hour to try and see if we can mine some more interesting things out of the questions. However, in doing so, we might cross the 1 hour mark. To avoid that, we'll set up a timer. This session will last exactly 1 hour. At the end of the 1 hour mark, we will call this whole thing off even if we don't finish. Okay. So the format is we'll go through the questions quad by quad. In each case, I'll just ask somebody to volunteer to answer the questions. If we have a musketeer among us, somebody who did particularly well in that quad, then maybe you can walk us through them. But you don't have to have done well. For example, I'm going to be asking Kshitij to do quite a lot of these topics, and he won't have done well in anything. But that's okay. Okay. For the quads that we went through this week, the easiest one was eponymous physical exercises, which is kind of surprising. Maybe I don't remember the exact answers for that, but yeah, not a quad that you'd expect to be at 194 answers out of a possible 200, I think, little more than 200. And the toughest one was Caravaggio's Beheading, which is arts, which is a little more what we would have expected. Let's start first with number plates on screen. Who wants to take this one? Anybody? Any volunteers? Kshitij it is. First question for Kshitij. The lead actor for which critically acclaimed television series drives a car with this number plate? It says Lawyer Up.
Yeah, it took me a couple of seconds to figure out it was Lawyer Up, but then I knew it. Somebody else got it. This was Better Call Saul.
It is Better Call Saul. The question pretty much
Somebody
says
got the other one in my quiz.
the other one.
The other show, not the
Breaking
original
Bad.
show.
Breaking Bad. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
You haven't seen Breaking Bad, right?
Implying yes that I have not watched Breaking Bad.
Nice.
Yes. Okay.
Interesting. Okay, but you still got this one then without having seen either of the shows.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Second question for you. In a 2011 movie, this is the number plate of the car of the lead actor. It says not blank. Blank is not part of the movie. Which is the movie?
Still for me or?
Yes, it's still for you.
Oh, I remember the number plate. I don't think I got this in the quiz. I still don't remember the movie. The number plate was not guilty. Somebody else can take this.
We shall pass
It
to
was,
Akshay.
oh, sorry.
Rishi, go ahead.
This was
No, I mean, if you're passing, it's fine. I mean,
Somebody.
this was Lincoln Lawyer. This was Lincoln Lawyer.
Yes.
I had no idea about it,
Yeah.
but someone guessed Lincoln Lawyer for the Better Call Saul question.
There's a common thing in a
Oh.
lot of quizzes that because the Better Call Saul question came up first, a lot of people said Lincoln Lawyer, and I saw at least 2 people pick up on that answer and use it the next time they had a lawyer question because it was their direct. So they don't know that Lincoln Lawyer is a movie or a TV series, but they got points for it. Third question for Kshitij. In which 1980s film do the titular characters ride with a vehicle with this number plate?
Yeah, somebody else got this in my quiz. This is Ghostbusters. I figured it was ectoplasm, but didn't know it in the moment.
That's correct. So ectoplasm is supposedly the substance that ghosts are made of in Ghostbusters, I think. I haven't actually watched the movies. And your fourth question. In a 1955 film, the owner of this car insults the lead actor by calling him a Hindi term. And as the car pulls away, the lead actor starts to yell a comeback to outdo the insult. And this number plate completes his insult, even though you never get to hear it. What is it?
My guess was Chachi 420 and I still don't remember the actual correct answer.
Okay. Ajut.
Shri 420.
Shri 420, right?
Yeah.
So just to tell you what the line was there. It says, "Agar main 420 ho, to aap 840 ho," which is what's on the number plate. Shaman says, I guess Lincoln Lawyer for the first one because for some reason I couldn't imagine Saul Goodman driving around in a vehicle. Luckily got you too, so said Lincoln Lawyer again. I think I might have. Was I reading your quiz, Shaman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, interesting that 420 doesn't translate the same way outside of Hindi, right? Because calling somebody 420 in English would be very different from
an awkward thing to explain.
Yeah.
Question for Akshay now. Akshay, I just put you in here without you even turning your camera on. Sorry about that. But your first question, in this 1870 painting, wait, just to show you these. Oh, actually, you had a musket in this. Then you definitely should be attempting this. Please turn your camera on.
Yeah, this one I can attempt.
In this 1870 painting, John Everett Millais, how do you say that? Is it Millais?
I don't know.
One would think having read 5 games this week would be enough to look up the pronunciation, but I have not done so. Is depicting the boyhood of which Elizabethan
The
era?
best way to find out is, I'm sorry to interrupt. The best way to find out is pronounce it wrongly and then
And then somebody will tell you. Okay, the soldier
That's
listening to
Godwin's law. Isn't it?
a soldier listening to a story about the sea and land along with his brother, the explorer's name lives on in the capital of an American state on the southeastern coast. So which explorer is this? Okay.
This was Walter Raleigh, which is the name of the call. So
Oh, well
Yes.
done. You picked up over
It's
here.
shown.
Good stuff. Question for Akshay. In 1596, during the Anglo-Spanish War, Sir Walter Raleigh served as the rear admiral to the second Earl of Sussex and the capture of which Spanish port city? Named for the Berberic word for wall, a feature seen in naming of other Moorish cities such as Agadir in Morocco. This was Spain's main port until 1778 that enjoyed monopoly of trade with America.
It was Cadiz.
How does one get this? Because I was reading this now and realizing that I don't remember the answer even now.
I had seen it in a quiz a couple of days before this one.
A couple of days before. Okay.
Yeah, very recent. Yeah.
So Cadiz is like a slightly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay. Question for Akshay again. In the 1500s, Sir Walter Raleigh set off on an expedition in search of a city called Manoa on the shores of Lake Parim. During this expedition, he published a book called The Discovery of Guyana. It fueled an intense search for what legendary entity?
El Dorado. I guess this was L1. Should be the L1.
It was the L1. I mean, I hope it was the L1 because I could have gotten this. And your fourth question. So Walter Raleigh made a valiant attempt to establish the first known English colony on American soil, located on what was then Virginia. This became known as the Lost Colony due to the unaccounted disappearance of its entire population. Which lost colony is this? Named after the Algonquin people who were its first residents.
Raunaq. Okay.
Can you explain why you knew this?
I've read about it.
That's the simplest way. Okay. El Dorado was the L1 and was answered the most also. Cadiz was the L3 but answered less than Roanoke. Okay, who wants to try a soundtrack from Rockstar? You have no muskets in that, but they got 3 out of 4, which is Musketeer. Achut, you are already written that. Do you want to attend this?
Sure.
This piece says, out beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there's a field, I will meet you there. It's from Rockstar. It is which Sufi mystic's work? This Konya-based poet gives one of his many titles to the name of the order that he was pivotal in establishing.
This is Rumi.
Right? Oh, I passed you for that.
I saw this as an Instagram quote floating somewhere on my feed and defaulted to Rumi and was correct.
Yeah, it was like a guess a Sufi mystic.
Guess a
and
Sufi
thankfully
mystic,
I didn't complicate it. Yeah.
Your second question, in the song Sadahak from the film Rockstar, shot at that monastery in Methodganj in Dharamshala, it is all about personal rights and freedom. However, the song triggered a dispute with the Central Board of Film Certification regarding certain slogans and flags. So which flags had to be edited out of the video sequence?
Tibet.
Yes,
I
correct.
think if you know that the Tibetan government is set up now in Dharamshala, you can figure it out from there. Or if you've seen the movie.
There is a documentary style YouTube channel called Lemino that goes into the dubious history of the Raunaq colony. Nice. Question for Achut. Oh yeah, I think we made a mistake with this, but question for you anyway. This uncle-nephews trio shot a nationwide fame after their appearance in Kun Faya Kun. They belong to a family of Qawwals, having been performing at the Hazrat Nizamuddin Dargah for centuries. What is the two-word name for this collective?
Was it Nizami Bandhu?
Bandhu is right. So
Yeah.
I was told later on that we should have also accepted Nizami brothers, since apparently on social media that's what they call themselves.
Yeah. I guess Nizami brothers only for that social media thing, but did not get a point.
Yeah, so brothers should have also been accepted, but Bandhu is what we're accepting this week. And fourth question for you. Jordan, the protagonist of the movie, is a musician who is influenced not only by a situation, but also the places that he visits. So the song Hawa Hawa, which takes place when he was in Prague, is based on a classic fairy tale made by whom? A pair from a neighboring country.
Brothers Grimm.
Very straightforward.
I think if you, because it says pair, you can eliminate Hans Christian Andersen and you can then zero down.
Rumi was the L1, did not act like the L1 because could have been moved much further. Free Tibet was more of the L1 and was actually sitting at L3. Wow. Okay, sciences. Who's two musketeers in this? John Violet and Jayant. I don't think either of them are here. If anybody from this list is available, then you can attempt. Nahi to, does somebody else want to volunteer? Always the worst part of this, because I'll have to keep pointing.
I can try.
Who's this? Rishi, thanks.
Rishi. Hope to remember the answer at least.
First question for you. Charles Darwin painstakingly observed the animal world over many years, discovering new species and learning new things about evolution. Charles Darwin devoted about 8 years. You can see us editing in progress over here. So we tried to start the question here, and then we started the question again, and then we forgot to remove the first sentence. Is what happened. So anyway, what sticky little arthropods are pictured here? When his ship, the Beagle, ran aground, the work built his initial reputation as a serious naturalist.
This is these are barnacles.
Barnacles, right? Yeah. Second question. During his time at Galapagos, he was amazed at a cluster of islands of almost identical geology, elevation, and climate, producing or giving rise to such distinctive creatures to the point that a vice governor once quipped that Darwin could look at any one of these and tell which specific island that they are from. What was this long-living animal? Long-living bull, yeah, shit.
These are tortoises.
Tortoises, right? Not turtles.
Yeah. I mean, Galapagos you directly associate.
Yeah,
So we are supposed to like just pass on turtles, right? As in like mark wrong and move ahead.
Again, but kind of up to the reader. The reader decides to prompt, they can. But yeah, tortoises, we didn't add a prompt. Question for Rishi again. While in Patagonia, Darwin ended up discovering what new species of flightless birds native to South America?
This is the Rhea.
The greater Rhea.
Yeah,
Nice one.
No, the new one was the lesser Rhea, sorry.
lesser, yeah.
And your fourth question. A group of passerine birds from the Galapagos are called Darwin's blanks in tribute to his intensive study of their beaks, which he figured was different among the various sub-members that had evolved basis their food choices. What is this family of birds with remarkable beak diversity?
The finch.
Finches is correct. Not bad. Sia could have been the L4, but otherwise they all acted pretty much even, only could have been non-ascending. Next, we're trying. Works of John Le Carre had 3 musketeers. Alison, Rose, Ajit, and Shom all got muskets. I think Shom is on the call. Are you? He is, right? Shom. Oh yes, he is.
Yeah, Shom is there in the call.
He messaged me saying that he's in a work meeting, so he's only listening right now. Great. So question. Does anybody else want to try this? I will point to Shashank. Shashank, question for you. Which writer was inspired by Lord Clanmorris, a one-time MI5 agent, to write crime novels? The pseudonym. This is correct. This is John Le Carre. Le Carre means the square in French, which is a common funda in these quizzes. Second question. What was the title of his Cold War novel, which came out in 1991, post the fall of the Iron Curtain, about a plot to take down an international arms dealer? It is named for the protagonist's role at a hotel. And it is now an Indian Disney Plus OTT series of the same name.
Only know because this ad keeps coming on all the cricket matches. The Night Manager.
Yes, correct. I did not know about the Indian series. I knew about the Tom.
Yeah, if you watch cricket, you just get to see this like 20 times in a day.
This is the #1 ad on Hotstar now.
Yeah.
So you play anything, Aditya Roy Kapoor is everywhere.
Yeah.
Third question for Shashank. Le Carre's actual career in British intelligence came to an end after publishing Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and that was released in the aftermath of whose defection to Moscow after climbing to a high rank. Le Carre's novel analyzed and exposed Gerald, the code name used by the KGB for the same double agent, one of a group of 5.
Philby, right? Kim Philby.
Say again?
Kim Philby.
Yeah, Kim Philby is
Cambridge
right.
5.
And the Cambridge 5 would be the collective. And your fourth question. Pfizer conducted an allegedly illegal test of a new drug to protect against meningitis in Kano that led to many deaths. This drug test and the long case that it followed inspired which John Le Carre novel that was also adapted into a blockbuster film in 2005 that won Rachel Weisz an Oscar.
I don't remember this one. Don't remember.
Pass to Kshitij and Rishi.
Einstein something.
This is
This is nice. Now you have no excuses also. Literally showed you the answer earlier. Are you passing?
I don't recall.
I don't have it.
Actually,
I don't have it either.
oh shit,
I
we have
think
an
I'm
X.
not
We
getting
have
it.
an X. Oh my god. Never thought this would
I got it in
happen.
my direct also.
It's an X in a retro. It is the Constant Gardener.
Yes,
No.
got it in my
That was
direct.
the name of the round. Okay. Here's how that went. Jean-Luc was much easier. It had no business being at the L3. Night Manager, as you said, if it's associated with cricket, then it can be a pretty good L1. Operation Paperclip. It is my first quad in a long time. Finally got around to writing one. There's other things to do.
I like this one.
Who's attempting? I will say a name unless somebody volunteers.
I'll do.
I heard I'll do, but I don't know who it was. Shashank?
Shashank.
Yeah.
Perfect. You're in two teams now. Your first question: after World War II, between 1945 and 1959. Oh yeah, this is the quad intro. So it was later renamed to something referencing the small blank that Ordnance Corps officers were attached to the folders of German rocket experts whom they wished to employ. This is Operation Paperclip. Your second question and first one legitimately. So this guy was a German-born physiologist in Operation Paperclip who is considered the father of blank medicine for his pioneering studies and innovations like the blank suit and the blank life support system. After Wall Street Journal published an article in 2013 connecting Stughold to human experiments conducted during World War II, the Blank Medicine Association's committee decided to retire the award, till then awarded annually as the most prestigious award in the field. Fill in the blanks.
This was space, right? Space medicine and space suit.
Yes, Stughold is the father of space medicine since he's done a lot of studies on how human bodies react in space. The whole.
I think this went for an X in our quad.
I think in most of the games that I read, it ended up playing quite difficult. The question doesn't really point in that direction. Although Operation Paperclip.
Space and medicine is nobody thinks space and medicine together, right?
And
the thing is, Operation Paperclip might not have been sufficient to point people towards, oh, these are space scientists that were pulled in.
Correct,
Unless, say, Von Braun was like a question 2 or something. I mean, this could have been like a German scientist in general kind of plot, right?
In playtesting, this actually was happening again, and we ended up mentioning this, hoping that this would cause a difference, but it didn't do enough. I think you weren't if you were attempting this like at the moment, you probably weren't reminded of the fact. Okay, most German scientists who were brought over so that they could do stuff with rockets. Question for Achyut and Shashank. Many German scientists taken by the USA went on to have distinguished careers. Which aerospace engineer had the most distinguished career? He was the chief architect of the Saturn V launch vehicle, and he was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal in 1969. And this is literally the whole reason why the quad was made, because we came across this line. He was mocked by satirists with the saying, "He aims for the stars, but sometimes he hits London."
What with the version I have heard is that he said, "I just make sure that they go up. I don't care where they come down."
Oof, okay.
Yeah, that is also a quote associated with it.
You remember the name?
And if you, Von Braun, Werner
correct.
Von Braun. If you play Civilization 6, he is one of the scientists you get in that game.
Oh, okay. I know that I have never played Civilization, but I know that you have leaders of each civilization. I remember
You
because
have
there was
leaders, and then you can get great people of different kind.
okay.
So there are scientists and engineers, and you get this guy also.
Later, I only know about Civilization because there was that very popular quiz panda of Gandhi being a maniac in the game because once
Nuclear Gandhi.
Nuclear Gandhi.
That was bit overflow logic. That
correct. So
it
would reduce.
So peaceful that he becomes overly aggressive.
Correct. Okay, and last question for you, Shashank. A related program to Operation Paperclip was Operation Lusty. What does the L in Lusty stand for? The first word alone is enough for points.
Love, Luftwaffe.
Luftwaffe is right. Okay, who's attempting peace symbol? We have a musket. I don't think JK is here though. Just check. No, he's not. Shramanth, you are attempting this one.
Okay.
First question. Designed by Gerald Holtom as a symbol for a march from Trafalgar Square to the atomic weapons. This is the peace symbol. Well done, Shramanth. And your second question. The white variety of which flower serves as the peace symbol in many Commonwealth member states, typically worn along with the red variant of the same flower on Armistice Day. One variety of this plant, Papaver somniferum, is the source of the narcotic drug opium.
Poppy.
Poppy is right. Question for Shramad. When quizzed about the inspiration for the peace symbol, his creator said, I was in despair, deep despair. I drew myself, the representative of an individual in despair, with arms outstretched outwards and downwards in the manner of blank peasant before the firing squad. I formalized the drawing into a line and put a circle around it. Which painting is he referring to as inspiration? I need the title, not the artist.
It was 3rd of May, 1808.
I actually don't remember the answer, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, that's right.
We heard so many dates in and around that. It was like 5th of May, 1820 something.
Correct, exactly.
I was in a couple of cases where people could remember that it was a Goya and could remember what it looked like, but title is a little harder. So,
you mentioned there's a prompt for, I don't know, what is that? Yeah, May 1808, but there was no advisor on what to do for 3rd May with a wrong year or with no year.
No, I mean, again, on paper rules, okay, if you get any bit of wrong information, you can just, call that wrong.
It feels cruel though.
It definitely does feel cruel, yeah. Question for Shramad. The peace symbol was conceived as a way of spelling out the letters N and T. In what type of signaling system that gets its name from the Greek for sign bearer?
The semaphore.
Semaphore is right.
There's a Beatles song with these symbols, right?
There's a Beatles album. There's a Beatles album called Help, in which they. Can you tell me what they're spelling out in the Beatles thing?
It's not help, basically.
It's not help. It's actually gibberish. Yeah. They just arrange their hands. They initially tried to do help, but apparently it didn't look very attractive. So they just arranged their arms however they wanted to. So it spells out NVLP or something like that.
And here in the answer, I also liked how
basically it's some polished that kind of logic that would be there.
Kiran, you were saying something?
Yeah, I really liked how the symbols for C, N, and D were shown and how the combination made up the peace symbol. That was really cool to see.
Answer images are always nice. We should do a little more of it because you get a little more feel of the answer. But unfortunately, most question sets are made a few minutes before the first quiz. Question for Akshay and Shank. Sorry, this is for the next part, right? So we move on to food and bev. This is Eponymous Foods. Abdul Wahid got a musket on this. I don't think he is here. He is not. In which case, Akshay and Shank, why don't you keep trying? An apocryphal story is that this quintessential South Indian dish comes from the name of a Maratha ruler, Shivaji's successor, who was a guest at the court of Tanjavur. However, this has been disputed by food historians claiming that references to it predated the ruler by a century. Which dish?
Sambar, no? Sambar.
Yep, that's right. I have something to read out to you from.
I hope the readers were marking incorrect for sambar.
As opposed to sambar. Okay, so this is the thing that I wanted to read out. So usually when the reader submits the score sheet, there's a little note section where you can add extra stuff that happened in the quiz. This is the note. One of the participants happened to be a descendant of Shambhaji, and said that this is not a dispute, and that sambar is named after Shambhaji.
Oh, please, no way.
Which is just lovely, I think. I mean, I don't care if it's true or not. I just love that you're a descendant of Shambhaji.
Claim.
There's a
but how can even a descendant of somebody, how can he know if it's true or not?
I'm not questioning this. I accept it.
Family lore being passed on.
Yeah. Question for Shyam. Also known as Imarti, which sweet is said to have been invented in Mughal royal kitchens in Fatehpur Sikri for the crown prince, although he took on the name only after ascending to the throne. It is not to be confused with a similar but more popular sweet named from the same letter.
Jahangiri, it seems, or Jahangiri.
Jahangiri.
Try to extrapolate.
Very strangely, this question was passed all the way to me and I was lost in the passing order. I thought it would be cracked in the first one.
I had never heard of this week, so I have no idea what this is either. Yeah, legitimately, I had never. I thought I saw the photo and thought jalebi, but then the question clearly told me it's not jalebi, so I wouldn't have known what to try.
In my game, we had Connor, and he actually guessed, unfortunately, jalebi for this because he clearly knew enough to guess jalebi, but yeah, this is a slightly deep cut.
Yeah,
correct.
I never knew it was from Jahangir. We just call it Jangri, and I just thought Jangri.
Same, me too.
Which sweet made of fried china and flour gets its name as per a popular legend from the wife of the Governor General of India during 1856 to 62, as it was made to commemorate either her birthday or her visit to India. Though considered essential to a Bengali feast in the 19th century, critics stated that it was popular due to the name and not due to the taste.
Lady Kenny. So.
Lady Kenny.
You can already tell that such a clarification had to be made by somebody who just didn't like it, right?
Hey, but I have an objection here.
Yes.
This same thing is sold in Bangalore as gulab jamun only.
I mean, I don't doubt
but that is Bangalore's
Even
fault.
Bombay.
That is not.
This is appropriation by Bangalore.
Bangalore people are fooling you.
But anyway, like I think there's enough in the question to disambiguate away from gulab jamun.
I understand.
Yeah.
But what I have, okay, has anyone tasted this Lady Kenny? Does it taste different from a gulab jamun?
Identical to gulab jamun.
Not
Yeah,
really.
it tastes a little different than.
We'll ask our Bengali experts over it.
It's more of a fried kind of.
I am in Kolkata only, no.
Okay.
So if you're in Kolkata, a similar kind of a sweet is langcha.
Langcha, I know.
Yeah, so similar kind of a sweet it is.
I was reading for a group which had a Bengali, and he said he had only heard of langcha and never heard of Lady Kenny.
It's impossible.
Question for Shashank. Dishes with royal connections are not always named after rulers. Which dish is named for the one-armed cook, Haji Murad Ali, who invented it as successor to his earlier invention, the galoti kebab?
This is politically incorrect. Tunde.
It's politically incorrect? Why is it politically incorrect?
It's like don't call people by disability.
But is the kebab not called that?
That's the name of the kebab.
Okay.
So tunde is also a colloquial thing in Bihar and UP about somebody who has a missing limb.
I think that's the funda in the question as well.
Yeah, the origin came from.
Lucknow's got a very famous the tunde kebab.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Does anybody want to try eponymous physical exercises? If not, I will be putting Carlo. You are attempting eponymous physical exercises. First question for you. In the 1940s, gynecologist Dr. Blank noticed that women's pelvic floor muscles were weakened after childbirth. These muscles support the pelvic organs, and when they're weakened, it can lead to incontinence and sensation loss in the area and vaginal prolapse. Which eponymous exercise was developed to counteract this, also recommended to older men for avoiding incontinence?
Whoever wrote this question deserves 20 out of 20 for the amazing way they've avoided all NSFW references.
Is Braxton Hicks? No.
This is Kegel.
Okay, my earlier point. So this is Kegel. Well done.
Kegel exercise.
This came up in a. Actually, let me not spoil a friendly. It's come up in one of the recent friendlies as well.
Question for Chuchishang and Carlo again. This exercise is a variation of the seated dumbbell shoulder press. It was developed to improve. Okay, there's a lot of gym language here that I just phased out for. What is this eponymous press exercise called? Named after multiple-time Mr. Olympia winner who developed it.
Arnold.
Arnold press is correct, or Schwarzenegger press. Either will do.
Harman.
Yes.
That is the one sentence in which I've said deltoid the maximum number of times in my life.
I know it just came up again and again, and said recruitment also, deltoid recruitment twice, just unnecessary. Okay, question for Carlo. The Gironda neck press is named after Vince Gironda. I hope I'm saying that right, because then it says American and I question myself. Professional bodybuilder and owner of the celebrity frequented Vince's gym. It is a bodybuilder style bench press for pectoral activation with a flared elbow and legs raised. It is also called the blank press, a word which might have struck fear in the hearts of some people in the late 18th century. What is the blanked out word? Also an eponym derived from a Freemason's name. Carlo.
Choke.
Not that. Chitij?
This is the guillotine.
Guillotine, right? So I think just from the positioning and the fact that it's
guillotine, yes.
And fourth question for you, Carlo. Invented in 1939 by physiologist Royal Huddleston Blank Sr., which eponymous exercise was initially designed to be a quick fitness test but became a popular exercise when the US Army made it one of the methods of testing a recruit's base level of fitness. Today, it is a mainstay of high intensity interval training routines.
Well, I got this one, then I got it right. It's a burpee.
It is burpee. As it stands, it also played pretty even. No real standouts here. Okay, mythological first woman. Anybody interested?
I can go for it.
Give me your name.
Rishi.
Okay.
Sorry.
Rishi. First question for you. Among these peoples, Vara Murungundi is considered to be the first woman. Worshipped as a fertility goddess, she is said to have given birth to all living things with her mate Vurugan and to have taught language to these people. Which group of people considers her the first woman known for the worldview called the Dreaming, drawing from the rainbow serpent creator god? I have a note.
He's an Australian Aboriginal.
He is right. Let me just find that note that I wanted to read. Okay, fair enough. But essentially, I was told that Aboriginals is no longer the correct term to use. Correct term is simply Australian natives.
Is it First Nations?
I have heard First Nations, but the clarification.
First Nations is a Canadian term.
Yeah, I've heard it in Canadian context.
Yeah.
What is the correct term then?
I was told to use Australian natives,
Australian
and that we shouldn't be saying Aboriginal in the answers. We should use Australian natives. Okay, question for Rishi. In Mesopotamian and Judaic mythology, who is believed to be the first woman and Adam's first wife who was banished from the Garden of Eden?
So, I don't know if Sai is on this call, but he'd be thrilled to know that I knew this answer due to one anime that he very strongly recommended I watch, which was Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Really beautiful anime.
Something that happens, it's not much of a spoiler or something, but one of the characters in that is Lilith. And they are also ties into the human primordial myth and all that. So
I think most of the people who got this right, not most, but quite a lot of people who got this right got it because they were watching some anime. Apparently, Lilith is a common.
Nobody was supernatural or something.
No.
Yeah, I got it from Supernatural and Lucifer and Sandman. Everything coming together.
Also, Sai is not on this call. He's not allowed to be on this call. He's just the group that could not schedule the quiz, but then did schedule after the retro. So he's has to very deliberately avoid this call. Okay, and third question for Rishi. In Sanskrit-based languages, humankind is known as Manushya in reference to the union of the first man Manu and which first woman who took 100 forms.
This was Satrupa. One of the answers where we're like, oh man, this makes so much sense. Once I heard it.
Yeah, because Shat is 100 and Roop would be the forms. And your fourth question. In Greek mythology, she is the first woman and was created on Zeus's instructions by Hephaestus. The myth of this woman addresses why there is evil in the world to begin with, as she is said to have released all the ills of humanity. Who is this? His most famous association is actually a misrepresentation of mythology.
It's Pandora. Pandora's box/jar.
The misrepresentation being that we call it box, it is apparently a mistranslation, it should be jar. Okay, next. Shatrupa actually playing out hardest, which is hard to predict. It's one of those things where the clues there in the question, but might not be so easy to see. Okay, this was our everybody's least favorite quad, at least least answered quad. Does anybody want to try this? Otherwise, I will put.
I will go.
I think you're already there in this team.
Yeah.
I can try.
Blank with the head of blank is a Caravaggio painting depicting a beheading, which you realize is a theme that he clearly fancied. The famous biblical story on which this painting is based mentions a weapon that is different from a sword that is depicted here. The story also does not convey any guilt or remorse in the killer as depicted here in the expression of the boy. What is the story? A favorite among sports correspondents.
Yeah, David Goliath, right?
Yeah, that's right.
This was very loopy question because for beheading, people straight went to Judith and Holofernes.
Ah, okay. And do you know the weapon as well?
Sling.
Catapult or whatever. Question for Shank. The beheading of Sir John the Baptist by Caravaggio is considered by many art critics to be his masterpiece. It is the largest altarpiece that he would ever paint, with the figures in the painting being roughly life-size. It is also the only painting to contain what? I hate this line because it basically gives you a lot of freedom as a reader to decide whether or not this question will go answered or unanswered. If you zoom in on the right places, people will get it. If you don't zoom in on the right places, people will not get it. Readers should not have that kind of power. But yeah, we did say zooming in.
No, in our game, Kiran did zoom in at the right place, but we got onto the wrong thing. Multiple people.
Shashank?
It was a signature, right?
That is right. If you zoom in right at the bottom under the blood, you can kind of see the signature over here. Okay.
Then it's not. Yeah.
Your third question. The account of Judith beheading in Holofernes is a favorite subject. Our man Caravaggio has two paintings on the same topic, depicting the actual moment of beheading. Another painter from Naples got inspired and painted Judith slaying Holofernes in 1612, which many architects interpret as interest in depicting strong women. Which painter?
This is Artemisia Gentileschi.
Is correct.
It's very
Very
emotionally charged painting, supposed to be depicting someone who she was angry with for some reason. Putting it mildly.
Your fourth question. Pictured here is the painting Head of Medusa by Caravaggio. This painting captures the exact moment that Medusa gets beheaded. In order to capture the right fearful expression of Medusa, whose face did Caravaggio choose as a model?
This was himself.
That's correct.
This is interesting. I didn't know this.
Yeah. Self-portrait.
His signature being the hardest one, and unsurprisingly, if we had, I'm pretty sure if we had zoomed in a certain way or cropped in a certain way, that would have been answered much more. Okay, we'll stick to the current teams. Question for Achu, Shashank, and Carlo. We're now moving on to the Family Feud topic. Just show of hands for whoever's on video. Did anybody like this squad?
Yeah,
I liked it. I'll take it.
I liked it.
Oh shit! Okay, my point stands defeated. I'll now.
But what was your point anyway?
I hated the
Let's
squad.
not-
I didn't like it. I thought we shouldn't be asking stuff like this. It's a little too flimsy as grounds for a quiz question.
It's actually easy to figure it out, even if you don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. If you don't know half of the answers, you can figure it out.
You have to be just.
Yeah, I enjoyed
You
it.
just have to be too low, bro.
I agree. It's a fun topic to make questions on, but it doesn't have much weight as a thing itself. It's like, why are you asking me questions about this? That sort of thing.
So it's a philosophical thing, right? Like, so if you think of quizzing as something like you want to, as a QM, you want to tell people about things that they should know of.
Yeah.
Then you would not like this squad. But if you think of quizzing as just like a sport where it's about figuring things out based on some clues and this thing, right? Then the subject matter doesn't really matter.
Perfect call for that.
But actually,
More of a lateral
should
thinking
know about
question.
Family Feud also.
Sorry?
Not necessarily, I guess.
Okay.
Sorry?
I'll keep going.
People should know about Family Feud also.
I don't know.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
Do they?
kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
Question
As in,
for-
like you're saying people should know. Okay, like that. Okay.
But also value judgments about the show aside, I like the squad because I got this question hilariously wrong.
What did you say?
And I will share after the question is.
Okay, question for
it's black,
Shashank and
red,
Carlo.
whatever.
Name a kind of bear.
Sloth
Papa
bear.
Bear. Papa Bear.
Is right.
Papa
Well
Bear.
done. It is a reference to.
Unfortunately, I think it was Siddhant who guessed Mama Bear for this.
Yeah. But the largest character says. Okay. Anyway.
I don't know.
I guessed Goldilocks. I don't know why.
Yeah, I also guessed Goldilocks, and then they were telling me more.
I said Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Goldilocks, I could not.
Second question for Shashank and Carlo. Name something a man might be willing to go to prison to get away from.
Yeah, this one I did not get. Cop.
This is
This
police.
I got it at the
Police.
at non-com.
But it went unanswered, yeah.
I will admit this is a fun question. I will have to admit this is quite enjoyable. With respect to what you think about the call, this is a fun question. Question for Achyut and Shashank and Carlo. Name something that follows the word pork.
I love this. It's a purely wordplay question.
Yeah, this is an excellent.
Upine.
Upine is right.
Like porcupine.
I told Upine.
Which non-single word that combines the keyword to make an animal's name. So there is enough there, but it does require a bit of a leap.
Upine.
It is upine as a porcupine. And your last question of this squad. This question is probably the one that's causing any strong feelings against this squad, at least on my part. Name Popeye's favorite food.
I think if you know that there's a brand of fast food called Popeye's Chicken, then
Now that's the problem.
Fried chicken.
It became kind of American.
I posit that even if you know that Popeyes is a brand, you might not be able to answer this because then you'd say something like burger or something, and we should have ideally prompted. We should have said, yeah, you've got the idea right by saying burger because you know that the brand exists, and we should have given points. Basically, frame the question in such a way that there's not so much subjectivity. At the moment, I believe that you can know the brand and still not come up with chicken.
Yeah,
Proper
I was
chicken
very
itself a meme.
Fair.
I was very careful with this, and I remember the distinction between a chicken sandwich versus a burger. So I was very specific about this. But again, the only reason I knew this one was because I knew the chicken chain existed.
I mean, it didn't stop people from getting it. Chicken actually is pretty decent for an L3. 33% is not bad.
I think maybe you could have mentioned like instead of just food, like maybe food ingredient or something, food item.
Do you think
rather
that would
than
make
a
a
dish.
difference? As food,
I don't know,
food
because people
ingredient?
in one thing that I was reading, people guessed chicken sandwich and I gave it to them because I said chicken is what is.
Okay. So keep going. I'm not changing the teams anymore. Question is now for Kshitij, Rishi, and Shramat. Rishi, you have to answer twice as hard. This is for anthropology subfields. The four-field approach to anthropology was developed by this guy. He's also called the father of anthropology. This approach defines four subfields important to the scientific study of humanity, which is the first one. It refers to the objects which need to be dug or displaced in order to get to the artifacts buried in different layers of the ground. Fill the blanks.
So this was Q1, so I didn't know what the quad was. So I think I guessed like dirt or earth, but then later found out it was stones.
That's correct. So once you've seen the first question, I think everything else becomes much easier.
Yeah, much more easy on rhyming.
You might see that reflected maybe in the answer attempts as well. But we'll see that.
Definitely.
Also, it gets funnier.
It gets funnier, once you realize what's happening. Okay, give me the same rhyming word for linguistics.
It's tones.
Tones is right.
Someone answered phones for this one.
Phones is also
Yeah,
good.
I was thinking phonemes, and I went with phones and I got it wrong.
I'm going to start muting people just to reduce the noise. Varun, that was Varun. Okay, great. Third question for Kshitij, Rishi, and Shramat. Biological anthropology is a scientific discipline concerned with the biological and behavioral aspects of humans, extinct hominin ancestors, and related non-human primates. It involves the study of the biological remains and measurement of skulls. I think once the quad has been introduced, you see this question coming from a mile away. So almost nobody got this wrong. Could somebody say the answer out loud, please?
Bones.
That's bones.
And your fourth question, for cultural relativism, is the axiomatic concept established by Boas in this subfield. The field deals with the question of how individuals acquire and retain power. So the term is in relation to the same.
The thrones.
Thrones is right.
So are they collectively like known together, like bones, stones, stones, and thrones?
I'll show you what field approach. There we go. Stones, bones, and thrones. So it is actually mentioned together. It's a pretty great concept and a nice area for questions. The first one was a mistake the way we framed it, because as you can see, stones did not play as a very good L1. Whereas bones, which you could see coming, was almost 90% answered, which is probably the easiest question
I guess
in multiple seasons.
Yeah. I think if bones might have opened, it might have.
Maybe. Yeah. I was just thinking of that right now.
Okay, for Tiffany Co, let's try Akshay, Shashank twice. This is one of the largest diamonds ever discovered, mined in the Kimberley mine in South Africa. It is still owned by and named after the brand. It was worn only by 4 women, the wife of a diplomat, Audrey Hepburn, for publicity photos of a 1961 film. This brackets is basically all you have for the question. Lady Gaga, the Oscars, and Beyonce. Which brand?
Tiffany is right.
Tiffany is
Tiffany is right. If you didn't focus on that, then it's just pretty much any diamond brand, and lots of people give lots of other answers. But yeah.
Correct.
Question for Akshay and Shashank. Beyonce wore the Tiffany yellow for an ad campaign with Jay-Z. The campaign also featured a 1982 Tiffany blue painting, Equal Spy, painted by which new expressionist artist and purchased by Tiffany Co for around $15 to $20 million.
Basquiat.
Is correct.
Michael Basquiat.
I was told in a DM recently that, so I had put out the review for the last week in which I had said that Lady Gaga has been called out as probably the most frequently occurring answer in this league, and somebody responded saying no, it's John Michael Basquiat. You asked him also about 5 times. Probably have.
But that you're not alone in that. I think Jean-Michel Basquiat pops up in quizzes quite often.
Yeah. Are you suggesting we're alone with the Lady Gaga obsession? Maybe it's possible. Question for Akshay and Shashank. In response to Tiffany & Co.'s trademark over the color Robin Egg Blue, an artist towards Semple launched paints in a color that he called Tiff Blue. He's been hailed as a color liberator. In response to which British Indian artist's purchase of the sole rights to use a special blackest of black shade?
Anish Kapoor. These are just entertaining stuff.
Say again?
Anish Kapoor versus Stuart Semple is just very interesting.
So Anish Kapoor has exclusive rights to use Vanta Black. Therefore,
Vanta
Stuart
Black
Semple
and Black
has
2.0. Then Pinkest Pink he did with.
Pinkest, yeah.
Question for Akshay Shah again. Which Bond book features the aptly named Bond girl, Tiffany Case? I mean, I could just say Diamonds and Bond and the question would be over.
Yeah, Diamonds for Forever.
Great. Okay. Yeah, Diamonds and Forever acting as L1 there. Okay, for exotic Bond names, this is I think the last squad for Achus, Shashank and Carlo. What prefix is given? I enjoyed this squad. This was a fun little collection.
Very good.
What prefix is given to Indian denominated bonds issued overseas to fund activities in India? A name meant to evoke Indian cuisine.
I went with biryani in my quiz, but this is masala bonds.
This is masala bonds. The word comes from from the
Masla.
Persian word for affair or masla. That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe you won't realize it at this point. Actually, it will probably become clear after the second question. Second question is, what name is given to a Chinese denominated bond issued by non-Chinese issuers in China, named after one of the most iconic Chinese symbols? This bond gained popularity after 2005 as IFC and the Asian Development Bank sought to attract capital from the rising Chinese market.
It's Kung Fu, right?
No, yeah.
No, I don't know. It's Kung Fu.
No, this was the.
No, that is this is Panda.
Panda.
Yeah.
But you can see why he said Kung Fu. At this point you realize this question is this whole quad is just stereotyping. So you're supposed to see the culture and then come up with something that ignorant outsiders would use to describe that culture.
So this question actually saw, I think, 3 or even 4 of the 4 people in my quiz take a guess. Like yin yang, feng shui.
Yeah, yin yang is what I said.
For this
I think symbol is very overloaded.
Yeah, symbol is.
As in, there's nothing really to disambiguate for you to get to Panda.
Yeah,
which is okay.
This whole question is just give any iconic
dragon
Chinese symbol. Yeah. Question for Giancarlo. And bonds that are denominated in Chinese currency but issued in Hong Kong are known as blank bonds. Just like blank have the freedom of any filling, which is great framing. Owners of blank bonds are free of Chinese capital controls. Next.
I think the person before me went with Bao Bun. I felt sad for him. Dim sum,
right? And the last stereotyping question and the last question for today's session. And we're doing very well time-wise, 12 minutes left. Is tight domestic regulations have forced many Chinese companies to seek capital overseas. What prefix is given to bonds issued by Chinese companies that are denominated in dollars? One of the most popular Chinese exports to Western media. I think media was pretty much everything. The name was chosen by more than 400 respondents in a Bloomberg survey to describe this instrument.
This also, I think, saw a lot of this is Kung Fu, right? Like what he was referring to. I thought this was TikTok bonds because Chinese export.
TikTok was a guess in our game once.
Yeah.
This is Kung Fu.
This is very before after TikTok. Before TikTok, everyone would have guessed Kung Fu. But now TikTok is a thing, so everyone is guessing TikTok.
Okay, and that finishes our retro. Let me just put our feedback link in the chat. If you guys feel up to it, please put down your feedback for this week's session. And hopefully you are, and the draws will be out for next week, tonight or tomorrow morning. Thanks, folks.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for running this.
Bye.
Harman, that form doesn't have GW3.
Say again?
That form,
yeah,
it does not